Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Meg Muffin, another Star Wars news update. Really happy to see you here today, and this is a very exciting tease. D23 is 4 days away. Now aside from the upcoming series, we do expect some updates for the movies, and the next one set to release in May of 2026 is The Mandalorian and Grogu, currently in production. Are we going to get something of a small teaser trailer, a couple of seconds of footage, a new logo? Anything would be welcome, and I do expect Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni to talk about it. But today we have our first tease for the movie, in the form of a Disney D23 character poster. We see Din Djarin in front of, take a look at this, the symbol of the New Republic. This is pretty massive, because amidst speculation, The Mandalorian and Grogu is going to incorporate aspects of the cancelled Rangers of the New Republic. That seems to be what this is implying. I reckon the movie is going to show us a lot more of Carson Teva, Mon Mothma, Admiral Akbar, and Din Djarin with his son Din Grogu. Remember, he is now a Mandalorian apprentice, going through the galaxy and basically doing detective work on behalf of the New Republic. I'm so excited, and this, albeit small, is actually a pretty major tease for the tone the movie is going to take. So I do expect to see maybe a few stills. I know it's still early, but at Star Wars Celebration they had trailers for things that we thought hadn't finished production, so you never know. But this is so exciting. And there has been some speculation this is just indicative of the era the film is set in, but considering some of the other movies and shows of these banners have symbols important to those characters, I would say this has a special significance. And it goes back to how the way The Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be very different to the TV show. We're entering a very different era which is going to combine The Mandalorian's first 2 seasons, Din and Grogu against the galaxy coming across syndicates, Imperial remnants, that kind of thing, but also moving into the age where Grand Admiral Thrawn is back and poses a massive threat with the Night Sister catacombs. But while that aspect of the story is in play, and this might be a controversial opinion, I don't think Jon Favreau is going to touch it. I think we might see some consequences and reverberation of it, some allusions to it, but I think Thrawn's threat is going to be continued in what Dave Filoni's doing in his own movie, but also Ahsoka Season 2. If I had to predict anything, I would say Jon Favreau is going to use the Mandalorian and Grogu movie to kind of reground these two characters, to spend some time just with them, their adventure, what they're going to come across, and the kind of wider galactic political stuff is going to be saved for when they return to the Disney Plus format. I've got something else of a hot take. I really think we need to return to developing Grogu as a character, and so I'm hopeful this movie does focus on the second character in the title, and we see Grogu develop, learn skills as a Mandalorian, and how that's going to have an interplay with his Jedi and Force-sensitive past. Can he learn to harmonize both of those abilities and philosophies? Can they work to his advantage? I think there's a misconception that because Grogu rejected the path that Luke was offering, to become a Jedi and train at his academy, that Grogu is forever, for the rest of his 800-900 years, just going to be a Mandalorian and nothing else. He might walk various paths. He still uses the Force, so why can't he reconcile that with being a Mando? Only now, he's got to take the Mando path way more seriously. In the Book of Boba Fett, Luke looks at Grogu and says, "It will take you many years to master the ways of the Force, because Grogu, a short time for you is a lifetime for someone else." Grogu goes on to make the decision to return to his dad, Din Djarin, and as controversial as the decision happening away from the main show was, The Mandalorian's 3rd season went on to demonstrate Grogu is now a full Mandalorian apprentice, under his adoptive father's watch. But Luke's quote should be taken more seriously than we think. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni made the conscious choice of creating Grogu as a Yoda species, and this means he will live many centuries, and, in theory, appear in countless stories. And these multiple metaphorical lifetimes could indicate that while Grogu abandoned the ways of the Jedi now, at the age of 50, which for his species is still an infant, doesn't mean he can't return to them at a later date, which I think he's gonna do. I believe he's going to blend both philosophies and become a Mandalorian Jedi, like Tar Vista, and I suppose, after Ahsoka Season 1, Sabine Wren, walking both paths, and one day becoming the Mandalore, the ruler of the Mandalorians. What is he going to be like, as a pupil to his dad Din, And how is that going to set the stage for the future of his story? And keep in mind, aside from Din Djarin, when you're talking about characters like the Armourer, Bo-Katan, Cosca Reeves, those on Mandalore, Dathomir is nearby. I also think there's a good chance they explain to us where Skeleton Crew fits in the grand scheme of the Mandalorian universe, and just like we got a couple of years ago, maybe they're going to lay out the future plans for this era, and how each of the upcoming projects set during the New Republic connects. Just giving us kind of like a roadmap for where we're heading, just touching base with the fandom and saying, okay, so we've had 3 seasons of Mando, 1 of Boba Fett, 1 of Ahsoka, and now here's where we're going. We have Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka Season 2, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Dave Filoni's movie, but kind of just showing it to us visually and saying, this is where it's at, this is why it matters, and just kind of getting some hype, especially for Skeleton Crew on December 3rd. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are really good at invigorating the fandom in that way. And while we're talking about Grogu, he also has a D23 poster with the New Republic symbol as the backdrop. So the Din Djarin one was not a one-off, it wasn't a fluke, this is deliberate, and to my mind, to my estimation, it's got to mean something. D23 is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be breaking down everything, all of the Star Wars announcements, as they drop. It's going to be fun. So please, if you've not done so, hit the big subscribe button down below, really helps me out. If you want some exclusives, go and check out our Patreon page, the link is down below. But moving on, in other Mandoverse news, Bill Burr, on the 29th of July, on his podcast, announced he's filming for a secret project. He said he cannot disclose any information, and given production on Mandalorian and Grogu has already begun, is he returning as Migs? I suggested this the other day, and it looks like maybe that's going to be the case. So just to remind you, the D23 announcements are going to be pretty spread out. The biggest announcements are going to be on Friday, the live action stuff, so that's where we're going to probably see something for Skeleton Crew, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, maybe Andor Season 2. Saturday's the Acolyte panel. We don't know. Is there going to be a Season 2? That could be where it's announced. And Sunday we should get some animation news. In a lot of these speculative pieces about what to expect, I think fans are expecting a bit too much. I would keep my expectations low, and then if we do get lots of things, it's a big surprise. Remember, Lucasfilm's presence, while significant, isn't the only panel there, and I don't think the scope is going to be enormous. I think it's just going to be a handful of upcoming projects which they know are going to meet the release dates. So like I say, Skeleton Crew, likely The Mandalorian and Grogu, Andor Season 2, and then question mark. But with that said, my dear friends, let me know your thoughts on everything we spoke about in today's video in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you always.